I want to be a part of something bigger than me.
I learned way more in that first year than I did in my first 3 years of being licensed before joining the team.
I don't think there's one person on this team, and I would be honest enough to say, if there was, that you can't call if you need something.
This is the Just One More podcast starring Chris Jacobs and Carlos Kopszywa.
All right, welcome to episode 5 of the Just One More podcast, powered by the Neil and Neil team. Today we have a special guest on. We try to make it extremely important to do a lot of different variations of content and make sure that people can kind of get an idea of, what this team's about and how much we really care about charity. And so Kendall's been just blowing us up to get on this podcast. And so we figured this was as good a time of any to, bring her on, let everybody see who she is, since, she's a special one on the team. And she is the director of sales for the Neil and Neil team here at Keller Williams. And we wanted to get her on to talk about kind of what she does and what her role is. And Kendall, I'll let you take it away. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So I've been begging to be here. Mm-hmm. So thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. I knew y'all were doing a podcast and I've been begging to get here. So I'm director of sales with the team. I started with the team in the fall of 2020. So right in the middle of COVID craziness. And I started out as a success coach and had my own little department where I was bringing on agents and training them into the agents that they are today. Carlos was my very first one. And so Carlos will always
I'm a horrible agent, by the way.
He'll have a special place in my heart because of that forever. I started with a small group. And then after about a year, moved over into director of sales for the whole team. And I've been doing that ever since.
So you say director of sales. Obviously, this is a real estate podcast. So we talk about a lot of different things. But when you are the director of sales for a real estate team, people don't, I think, see it how it really is. So like director of sales, you think in the corporate world, you're running a sales team and you're hitting numbers and you got to hit certain goals, but it's not exactly what your role is. So what is the director of sales to the Neil and Neil team?
Yeah. So I think it's where it's different from like if we were a pharmaceutical sales rep team or something like that, is I'm here to make sure that everybody succeeds in their own business within our umbrella. So it's not just, we talk a lot about Zillow on the team, but it's not just Zillow. It's making sure that everyone is creating a business that they want for themselves to thrive. And ultimately what will keep them happy working in real estate for the Neil and Neil team for the long term. In real estate, there's a high turnover rate with different teams and with different brokerages. And so we always want to make sure that we're providing value, not just in the form of leads, but in the form of support, in the form of coaching, and the form of everything that you could need to build a lifelong business in real estate. Because a lot of people get into it not knowing what it is and then hop out or switch brokerages and chase a brokerage with 100% splits or flat fees. And they think that it's all about the split, and we're not all about the split, but we are about making sure that everyone builds a business for themselves for longevity.
How do you feel your transition was from an agent to this position? You think it was like smooth, bumpy? Was it what you expected?
It was a good transition for me. I've always been, anything I've ever been a part of, I've been in leadership for, or in some capacity. And so I've always helped others through my role. And so that in my previous team, I was working a lot with my agent friends and making sure that they had good support just from being a friend and a colleague on the team. And I really enjoyed that. So when I first talked to the guys in Penelope about joining the Neil and Neil team, they were wanting me to join as an agent. And I wasn't ready to dive in at that time as an agent, but I saw their director of sales position posted and applied for that almost immediately, reached out to Penelope and said, I would love to talk more about this. And it was a pretty smooth transition in terms of pulling back from production, because I had my third baby, COVID had hit, husband was home from work, kids were home from daycare. A lot had changed in my life anyway. So I had already pulled back extremely on production and was not really in a place to want to go back all in, because once I was all in, I was like Chris is like, I have to do this at a high level or else I'm not happy. And so making that transition came at a really good time for me because I had already kind of pulled back from that.
Now your background, it's not necessarily business real estate related, right?
No.
Like you when you graduated from A&M, I wasn't going to do it. Anyways,
This is why I didn't want to come on the podcast because I knew it took what?
And how much money did
4
you?
minutes?
But who do you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be you.
I didn't say that. I didn't say.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's get into your background. You graduated A&M when? 2009?
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
So, but you went into recruiting. You went into the sports side of the world.
Yeah. So I went to A&M to major in animal science. I'm a farm girl, small town, West Texas farm kid. And always knew I wanted to go to A&M, major in animal science. That was my
Quick question.
path.
Do they have other degrees there?
They do have
that
other
was
non-ag degrees there, some really good ones. But I wasn't going to be an engineer. So yeah, I went there and pretty soon realized that like this is kind of an extension of high school because I was there with a bunch of people I had grown up with from other cities in Texas, other places in Texas, stock showing with and doing the whole ag thing. So a friend was trying out for Aggie Hostess. This was my freshman year.
For what?
It's Aggie Hostess. It's like the football group.
Okay.
And so
okay.
I tried out for that, made it. And then it was like a whole new world opened up to me. I've always loved sports, especially college sports. And so I went and got a job at the football office as a student worker, worked there for the rest of the time I was at A&M. And then when I graduated, I loved it so much. Like I was all in. Like you need a volunteer for this to work this day or this check-in or this thing. I mean, I was like chomping at the bit just to be in that world. It was so much fun. And so I applied to grad school, decided I really wanted to pursue this career in collegiate athletics, working in operations and recruiting, and got into grad school and then graduated with my undergrad. I was hired full-time as the recruiting and ops assistant. So I worked there for the remainder of grad school. And then my husband moved here. At the time we were engaged. And so I ended up moving here because he was making a lot more money.
Did you meet him at A&M?
Yeah. So I met him the month after I applied for grad school and had the conversation with my bosses saying, I want to pursue a career in this. And they said, women don't do this a lot, but if any woman can, you can. So go do it. They really.
But aren't y'all from the same area?
No, we're like 5 or 6 hours away.
So, but he's from Brackettville.
Yep.
And you're from
Andrews by Midland, Odessa.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. So you're west.
Way west.
She's
Yeah.
in the desert.
That explains a lot.
Almost to New Mexico.
That explains the dryness.
Right.
The very
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So obviously you and I had several conversations, well, a really long conversation before you joined the team.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest things that got me about the conversation we had is that the two things you and I talked about a lot in that conversation was production and how, like you said, if you're going to do it, you got to it's got to be all in. There's no half-assing it. But the biggest thing that you had mentioned to me that we talk about a lot, not on this podcast, but in general, is your why.
Mhm.
So why did you decide to not just get into real estate, but why did you decide to transition from killing it in the real estate world?
Mhm.
Like, because you were a top of the top producer.
Yeah.
Doing all right.
And yeah, I mean, you were a top of the top producer and you were the 1%.
Mhm.
Going into leadership is a big difference.
Yep.
And it's a pay cut.
Yep.
And that's just being real.
Yep.
What was your why? And don't say, well, my kids. No. There's more meaning behind it than that.
Yeah, I see. So, we talk to new agents a lot and just my why of getting into real estate. So many people say like, well, I want to help people. And I get that. That's absolutely one of the whys of why real estate over something else. But for me, it was to be able to build something for myself with the flexibility of schedule, which is not really true. Now I know, but initially that was a reason.
I think that's what everybody gets.
Yeah, everybody thinks that's a part of it, and it's not flexible, but it is in some ways. But I knew I wanted to start a family, and I wanted to do something where the sky was the limit, and I wasn't going to be stuck to a desk all day. And so that was kind of the flexibility I was looking for. And I got into it originally because I moved here, we got married. 2012 was the first, we got married August 2012. I started later that month with UTSA football, and that was their second season of football. And I was pretty much a secretary, which is not really what I was wanting to be. It wasn't their fault. Everybody there was really great to me, but it just immediately, not only was it a different environment from going at Aggie football to UTSA football, it was just, UT system. That was
He's just gonna
rough
keep doing
for me to adjust
digging.
to. It was just different, and I realized like there are several people above me, so I don't feel like I'll ever really be able to climb here. And I'm here, my husband's job's here. I'm going to be here. So there are a few universities I could look at. It basically came down to Tillman came home one day, like 2 months into the job, and I'm sitting on the couch crying, looking at job ads for the first time ever in my life, thinking, what am I going to do? I thought I had this path. I thought I was going to do this. And he was like, what's going on? And I said, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can work there. I don't want to be a secretary, and I want something more. And he said, all right, I've been waiting for you to say that. Like,
nice.
I needed you to say the words. I think you need to get into real estate.
So he's
the one that suggested it. And I had talked to my mom in like 2008 when I was still in college and told her I wanted to get my license. And she was like, absolutely not. This is the worst time possible. I didn't know anything.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, do not do that. You're in college. There's no point in doing that right now. Plus it's horrible in real estate right now. Don't do it. So it had always kind of been in the back of my mind.
It would actually been a really good time to get into
it.
it
Would have been a really good time.
Think about it. Yeah.
But anyway, so that's why I got into it originally. I needed a big change. I like talking to people. I knew I wanted to be starting a family. I wanted to do something where I wasn't going to be stuck at a desk. And then now my why for switching into this side of things is honestly the family life balance. And I was doing high production for about 4 years straight at a super high level, and it wore me out. Like, I just didn't have any gas left in the tank. Like I said, I had my third baby at the beginning of, 2 weeks before COVID hit. And I was pretty sure at that point that I was going to pull back. I left my old team. I was going to, do it on my own. Didn't want to be a part of a team anymore for one reason or another when I initially left. And then, 4 or 5 months later, I'm at the Neil and Neil team.
Unfortunately.
But I think the main reason is just that family life balance. And I sacrificed that for about 4 years. And while I was making insane money and really proud of what I was able to do while I was in full production, I didn't have that balance that I got into this to have,
But see, and I'm going to say something here, because I don't think that's what it was. Obviously, I think there was a dynamic. And in order to understand where I'm coming from, you have to understand Kendall and I's relationship. We fight constantly.
Love, hate.
It's a love hate. I absolutely love to hate this woman. But there's a different dynamic, because I've been on the team since I've been licensed, so almost 7 years. I've been licensed for 7 years, on the team for almost 7 full years. And she did and went through a lot of what I went through growing my business. She's seen exactly the path I took. Before she came onto the team in leadership, I was in leadership and I didn't like it. For selfish reasons, I think some of it, I loved the production side of it. I loved making the money, but I loved learning everything I could possibly learn about a contract, about real estate, how it functions. I would take on commercial, I would take on multi-fit, whatever, if I could learn it. When I got into the leadership side, it was so much people depending on me. And I'm the guy that'll answer my phone for anybody that calls, but I'm not going to give them the answer that they need to hear. I'm going to tell them how it is. And that's not a great way to lead, in my opinion.
That's military.
That's 100%. It's a military mindset.
I'm with my wife, and she hates it. She's like,
"Yeah,
you can't give it to me." Like, I'm like, "No, I'm giving it to you.
This
Break
is
the Band-Aid off. This is it."
And so there's a way to do it. So I think, and I could be totally wrong, but I think there was more to why you got into leadership side, because there was something that you saw. Because you got on the team, you were in leadership, but you weren't really like a leadership role. It was kind of like
the whole team.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I'm going to bring on some stuff. I'm going to do some things, try some things out. But you expanded so quickly into that role. And I think there was more of I think you were more trying to see how far you could push agents in a good way, because you draw out of people an ability to perform that they don't realize they have. And we don't say the word coaching on this podcast, because I don't believe in coaching. I think coaching is a joke.
I'll do that with Ryan.
Yeah.
He's
But
not a coach. He's a mentor.
yeah,
Okay,
but and
okay.
you mentioned coaching earlier, but I don't think you coach. Like,
Oh, I don't.
what's
No.
cool, and don't look, listen, that door is only so big. So
Mhm.
don't let your head get too
Okay,
big.
okay.
But you don't coach people. You teach people, like kind of Ryan does, a path to go while also holding them accountable. So there's a why on the real estate side that I want to hear more about from you, because you look at some of the agents you took under your wing, Carlos, and I can name several that we won't, that no, not for just, they don't know I'm going to announce it. So they started out struggling, and they're some of our top producers.
Yep.
They're some of the highest producing agents this team has ever seen. And they're up there, 10, 12, 15 million a year. That's unheard of in the real estate world. 10 to 15 million dollars in volume is just unreal numbers.
It's like the 1%.
It is, it's not even 1%. So why on the agent side did you think that this is the path I want to take, knowing that you're not going to have the free time that you thought you were going to have, even in this role? Yes, you get to spend more time with your family, but it's not like what you thought it was going to be, because you have 60 plus agents calling you nonstop. Trust me, I know, because half of them call me and bounce our stuff off each other. So I want to know the agent side of it. Why on the agent side did you think that this was what I wanted to do, knowing what it was going to do in terms of your career?
Yeah, I think deep down, I was on a team when I first started, husband and wife team, just the three of us. I was their, overflow buyer agent. I learned so much about real estate through them in such a different way. We were doing a lot of owner finance transactions. So it was this weird crash course in real estate, right? And then I went out on my own for a year or two, did it on my own, and saw a whole different side of, oh my gosh, this is hard. Like it was hard before, just learning the business, but now it's hard to even know how to get the business,
generate the business, nurturing those people, those relationships.
I never had a CRM that entire time. I didn't know that was
what's a CRM?
She had a file.
We don't have a CRM now, do we?
Yeah,
I
barely.
Back-ish.
It's a boom, down, or I don't know.
I don't even log into it.
So I didn't know people here. I was new to the city. It was just, it was a grind in the beginning. And then I was on another team that really taught me a lot. I'm very thankful for both of the teams I was a part of, because I learned everything I know about real estate. I learned a lot, or really in the three situations I was in prior to the Neil and Neil team. But what I found was there's real estate school, and then there's doing real estate. And it is so different. There's nothing that you learn in real estate school that really prepares you for being a realtor.
There's no better training than on-the-job training in real estate.
100%.
No. And so I realized that pretty far in that, wow, this is just so different. And so I think my part of the motivation coming here and talking with the guys and talking with Penelope, we interviewed for 3 months. I was talking with them every week during COVID. My kids are at home. My husband, we would schedule it on his lunch break. So he would take the kids outside where I could hop on a call with the guys and pee. And we would just talk about their philosophy on teams and where they wanted to grow and take this, their vision, where they had been. And simple things like, well, if an agent gets a lead from the team and then that client refers business out because that agent did such a good job, how do you pay them? Do you pay them like they generated that business, or is it considered team generated business? A lot of these teams that really become like sticky points for some teams and cause a lot of turnover, they had the same philosophy that I had in it. And so the more I talked with them and got to know their background and just what they had done to build the team and their outlook on things, I realized that I really aligned with that. And I missed that camaraderie from being on a team. I just don't like being on my own. Real estate is, I'm very independent, and real estate's a great place for independent people to be, but I hated being on my own. I hated it. It was lonely.
Same.
Even if you have friends in the business, you're not in it together really. So we had, this little accountability group lunch, but it wasn't the same. And so I think deep down, I wanted to be a part of something. That's what I used to tell my grandma when I was working at A&M football. I was like, I don't know. I want to be a part of something bigger than me. And that's truly how I felt. And that's how I feel here. I feel like we're the number one team in the city. We were ranked number one in the nation by Fast Expert last year. Like, that's big time. And I feel like I'm a part of something bigger than me that's helping others build the life they want to live through this career.
And we definitely weren't there before you joined. Like, we were
on the way. The guys had the
doing okay.
Yeah, the guys had a really solid foundation.
Mediocre at best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get to go through a lot of the training that y'all do now because the training is so much more in depth than I remember when I was training. Shannon Clint would just send me an address, write me an offer. What? Write me an offer. And I would write like 7 offers and like, nope, fix this, fix it. I'm like, I mean, again, to me, there's no better way of learning than.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, so before I joined the team, I think I've told you I was trying to find my way, but I was trying to find my way as a solo agent. I was literally at like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different brokerages, and I was bouncing around like most agents do because they're just searching for something that they think they want on their own, where most agents really want to be on a team. They want people surrounded by them who's going to push them and motivate them. Now, not all agents are like that. Some are just like, I'm just going to do okay to get by. But I think people like us, we're not okay with just getting by. That's why how I think of it, if for mom is like, if I was in that role, like I would not know how to do it because I'd want to work all the time. Like, I mean, you have kids and you work all the time, but you have a wife at home. Like they were both working. So
my wife, she's works full time. Like,
yeah,
I've had to manage my calendar better. I think that was my biggest struggle when I got in because I was logging.
What's a calendar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live like if I gotta go to the bathroom, it's on my calendar. Like, but I think most agents just want to be busy.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's where I've never been a solo agent, but you're crazy to think if I haven't looked into it. Yeah. I have done so much because it's like, it's not particularly because I'm not happy on the team, because I'm more than happy on the team. And there is a unwavering loyalty that I have to this team because Shannon Clint brought me into this business. They taught me what I needed to know to get me going. They gave me the tools that I needed to build what I have. So there's never been that. It's just curiosity, like a broker's license. You know, I've got everything done to get my broker's license. I just won't take the test.
Yep.
Because I don't want to be a broker.
You just want to,
I want to know that I can do it.
Yeah.
And so I looked into the solo side of it, and I looked into what it would cost me for leads. And we've talked about it. You know, you're going to spend on average 30% of your income. Well, if you're on a team that's 70-30 or 80-20 splits, and what they don't account for is that 30% of your income does not include your time. And we've always talked about at least to me, how valuable my time is. Not running signs, not running lock boxes, not.
When's the last time you entered a MLS?
I've never. I couldn't even tell you how to do it. Never done it. Never entered MLS. When you got into real estate, who would you say, even to today, because it could change over time, who would be your biggest influence in real estate?
You, of course.
That was the next question. Don't jump ahead of it.
I beat you to it. I don't know that I have. I mean,
if you say Gary Keller, I'll throw this mic.
No, I don't know that I have a huge influence. Like I follow all the big coaches and we
don't say coaches.
People.
She watched Selling Sunset last year.
I try to be like the Oppenheim group. Yeah. No, I don't know that there's anybody that I've tried to really model my business after or anything. Of course, the people who when I first started, Sherry Bailey had been our agent. She used to be in Bernie, and she was our agent, and she was so nice to me. I got my license and said, "Hey, can I just come follow you around?" And I remember being so eager to just get my business cards. If I can just get my business cards, then I can start sending mail, note cards out and things. No, the business cards don't matter. But it's funny because I'll hear agents say that joining the team, and I'm like, just pick up your phone. You can call anybody, But Sherry was really great to let me follow her around. She was a good mentor for me in the beginning, and everywhere I've been, I've had a really good mentor person leading me. I know one of my first deals, my first year was with Robin Saunders.
She's amazing.
Out in Bernie.
Oh my God.
We've done several deals or had quite a bit of correspondence over. I've been doing it 11 years now. And so I remember that first deal, I was way in over my head. I mean, way in over my head. And she was really kind and gracious to me. And she's always been, and even as recently as, a year or so ago when the market was pretty nuts, the way that she corresponded with a multiple offer situation. I had an offer in on with 15 offers, and just the correspondence back is like, that's what good agents do.
I've done several deals with her. I've actually probably talked to her once a month. Like,
Yeah,
we would text or whatever. And her son just got into it, and he
Mhm.
got caught up in a really weird deal with an old buyer of mine. So I had to help her with that. And Robin is the one that I would say on the luxury side was my biggest influence, because she's pointed out so many deficiencies and good things that we've done or I've done with luxury listings, and with Lloyd and Karen Kelly, like helping me get their second house they bought. Like, she's incredible. So of all the business that you've done and all the agents you've worked with, who is the greatest agent you've ever worked with, and why is it me?
I've never worked a deal with you, so I can't
That's fair.
say it's you.
That's fair.
I can't say it's you.
Good for you, because I would have took your ass to the woodshed. I would have worked you over like a bag of potatoes.
Yeah, my friend Becky Taylor amazes me. She was able.
I don't know her, but I've heard that name a
She
lot.
called you recently on a deal. I referred her to you.
I
think
think
she's the way that she
brown hair.
Yeah.
Okay, I've done some deals with her.
Builds trust with people. She's hilarious. And we've kept in touch since our last team pretty frequently. We talk, and she's one of my the people that I really am proud of, I guess. Like, I had nothing to do with her success, but just from afar, I'm watching her transition from a teacher, and she's just an amazing agent. Her referral business is insane.
So next question, of course, is you do a lot of course, bringing people onto the team, and we get a lot of applicants, I'm sure. What are some, I guess, telltale signs that you see in agents that you know that, all right, they're going to be a good agent, or some signs that like, no, we're not bringing on that person?
Right.
Oh, I know the first one she's going to say. Did they answer their phone or call me back in a reliable time?
Is their name Chris Jacobs?
I probably would not get out.
No, I think, we have an interview process that's pretty lengthy, and we can tell sometimes it frustrates people because they're used to walking into a brokerage and saying, hey, I want you to be my broker. And they say, okay, cool, here, sign up. And we put people through a process, and it's not just us interviewing them, but it's them interviewing us, because we want people to be in for the long haul. How many years have you been on the team? 7, 6?
Well,
7?
Well, I've been licensed for 7, but I'll be on the team 6 or 7 years in July.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for longevity, and we want people to vet us as much as we want to vet them. So you start off the conversation grilling me on how many leads you're going to get and what our splits are. Not a great sign. We're wanting people who are bought into the culture, who want to participate, who want to be team players. We've turned people away who are insane producers, but we can tell they are so cutthroat that they would not jive. And I think that's keeping the integrity of the team is a huge part of our hiring process. Just looking for that person who can have a good conversation over the phone. Sometimes we talk to people who can't even hold a conversation, and we're off the phone in 12 minutes, and that's not a great sign.
Right.
If I'm talking the whole time and having to pull answers out of you, not a great sign that you're going to be able to really handle difficult clients, difficult agents, difficult situations. And then honestly, we do the DISC profile, the Tony Robbins DISC profile. That's part of our application process. And then we do the Keller Williams KPA. Both are, personality assessment.
Both of those.
What were you, C or something? Do you
I
even know
don't
what they mean?
No, I think I failed both of mine.
The highest DI.
I think I was a DI.
Yeah, I'm a DI, and just insane high DI.
Some people call me something else affiliated with that, but
I'm a IS. I don't remember what that is, but
you is
highly social and
I can see that.
And steady.
I don't know what the steady part.
No,
You're
steady.
pretty-
I'm very calm, but I needed to be doing something all the time. If not, I'm like,
you don't have like crazy ups and downs.
no,
you
like,
don't
in my mood
Oh,
and
dude,
stuff
I'm-
like that. No, I'm very like, that's one thing about me is I am very calm in like super stressful situations. Like even with real estate, I see other agents like, oh, freak it out, like this is going. I'm like, it's gonna work out. Let's see what happens. Take a step back and we'll figure it out.
Well, honestly, going back to why I got into leadership and the personal side, not only for my family, but I cannot tell you the difference in my sleep from when I was in production to now. And I've never been a high stress person. I can kind of take stuff as it comes, but the difference in my sleep quality now that I don't have deals going on and dumpster fires all over the city happening with every contract I'm working, it really was starting to affect my sleep because I was just so
you just don't sleep.
overwhelmed.
Yeah, you gotta
I
be like
didn't.
CJ. You just drowned it out with alcohol. And you don't even think about it.
That's right. That's right. Wow.
That does not happen every day.
He was just telling us how
I
it's
fast.
how
I
it's not-
fast alcohol. I fast. So I consume a lot in one sitting. And then I fast for 24 hours.
Uh-huh.
No, it's funny because I remember when I got into the business, I had to interview with the team. Like, of course, everybody thinks that I just walked on and I'm the, I just got whatever. Yeah. So, and even when I came on the team, a lot of people thought it was because no, Shane and Clint actually didn't interview me. I interviewed with Penelope first, and then I had to do a group interview with agents and Trang, and Trang hated me.
Train was
I
tough.
can see that.
Hated me.
She's a great judge of character, that Trang.
Wow. That's why she didn't want you on the team. No, it's fine. But she was a no. She was a hard no. But everybody else was a yes. But I had, years of experience in sales. So it's kind of like I think it was going to be a personality thing between me and Trang because we're both very strong-minded, speak our mind. It is what it is. And so when I did my profiles, I thought it was a test. I thought I failed them both. I was like, I don't know what these mean, like whatever. And they were like, no, you're a perfect candidate for real estate. I'm like, well, yeah, I hope so. You told me to get my license. Like, the idea was never to get.
I don't think there's a pass or fail.
I don't think there is. But there was never, the intention was never for me to sell real estate. It was to do flips with the guys. And then I had to go through that interview process. And you want to talk about, like, I have interviewed for some, obviously, promotions in the military, different career paths I've taken throughout the years. My Department of Defense contracting, those interviews for my security, dude, I thought those were tough. Interviewing around a panel of agents was absolutely insane. It drove me nuts because I didn't know how. You don't know, you're so many different personalities. So, like, in real estate, when you're doing a listing upon whatever, you try to mirror and match. When you got 6 or 7 people sitting in front of you, you can't mirror and match because everybody's different.
Yeah.
And that's what was so, I thought, cool about the way they did the process. And when I got on the team, Trang was my transaction coordinator. I was like, and I knew that she was a hard no. And I was like, oh shit, this is going to be so bad. But from day one, straight up, it was respect the whole way. Like, Trang is my number one. Like, if I had to rank the people that I work with, it's Trang, Leah, right there at the top. And then Brenda, like, but it's not like everybody's lesser, but me and Trang have an understanding in our relationship that, listen, I'm going to say it how I want to say it. You respond how you want to respond, and we move on.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And so it's different seeing the dichotomy now where it's so much about personality traits. Like, the interview process is totally different. It's much longer now than it was. But that's the great thing because we were so concerned. We call it the OGs. Which aren't many of us left. We were concerned about the culture. And we talked about this when you first got on the team. I was like,
oh, I know.
The growth scared everybody because we had a great culture. We had, where everybody kind of bounced things off each other. We didn't have the technology we have now with obviously a podcast studio, but we wrote our addresses on the wall. What was under contract.
Yeah.
We didn't have a C-suite like that. So, like, seeing the advancements that the team has made on the positive side I kind of thought would outweigh losing that culture. But I don't feel like we really lost the culture. And I'm not around the team as much as I used to be. Obviously, I live far away, but the people that I have engaged with are very much like the OGs. Like, it's that culture. I mean, there's a few oddballs here, but I don't think there's one person on this team, and I would be honest enough to say, if there was, that you can't call if you need something.
There
won't
have
offer
been some.
And they're not on the
They're
team
no
anymore.
longer on the team anymore.
100%. But that's what's cool about how y'all managed to grow that corporate structure, but keep that culture. And I think it just really helps. It helps on the recruiting side too, because people ask me all the time, like, why the Neil and Neil team? Like, I got a guy that I need to give you his name because I think, anyways, I think he'd be great.
Yeah.
But they want to know why.
Yeah. Always our best recruits come from referrals of agents already on the team. So people who we already know, we already trust, we already liked. Carlos sends us a new person like every other month, who joins the team.
I honestly, when I meet agents out in the field, I'm like, yeah, this person seems like they're probably a good fit. Like, and they're kind of new. Let me send them over.
Yeah. And so now that's just kind of organically grown the team with this big network of people who are here because they knew somebody who said, hey, this person would fit in well here. It's really cool how it's grown. I do think it's obviously evolved since before I was on the team, but it's and that OG culture that you guys used to have, it's changed and we've grown, no doubt. But we really have tried to keep that at the heart of the team. And we don't
Gone
really
are the
hire
days of getting blackout
Right. Who's
on the
I
pool
think-
table.
I think even though we do the disc and we do that, we aren't looking for some specific personality profile, because the way that we have the team set up is we have
Gotta make
such a
sure of
big
everybody.
variety of sources, of different lead types.
Imagine if you
of
just had
different
all
things.
D's on here. Like,
Oh my gosh,
Like,
a bunch of Chris's and me running around. We would
This team
light the place
fall
on
apart.
fire.
Yeah, 100%. They would be like, all right, everybody's working remote. Nobody's coming to the
Nobody-
office. No happy
Yeah.
hours.
You guys can't get through one meeting without picking a fight. But yeah, I think even though we do look at that stuff, we know that, okay, this person might not be great on Zillow leads, but they might be great on this type of lead, or, whatever. Whereas back in before me and talking with P, it was more really before Zillow Flex and all of that kind of changed the game for us. It was like, we really need slow and steady agents who are very meticulous, who can manage Boomtown and all that. And I know that that's changed some. And some people who are really great producers are not great at managing their paperwork and CRM.
Pretty ADD.
Exhibit A.
Got to be ADD to do well.
So yeah.
But that does bring us to our next thing. Earlier, I know Chris had mentioned you were a top producing listing agent.
I mean, let's not
but you were
emphasize
doing what,
top too much.
60, 70 deals a year? What were
I
you?
was doing about 50 a year.
50 a year?
Yeah.
So
Stop.
I know that was like at least 4 years ago, because I've been on the team 4 years.
Yeah. It's 2016 through early 2020. Yeah.
What do you see would be like some, I guess, criteria for somebody to be a high producing listing agent in today's market? I know
Yeah.
it's kind of different.
Honestly, it's not that different from when I was doing it, because the market has
Same
kind of
almost.
recorrected
Yeah.
back to that 2016 to 2020 market pre-COVID, more balanced, a little bit more inventory. Things are sitting on the market longer. That's, to me, when the market started kind of coming back down to reality, I was like, this is my market. That 2020 to 2023 was a mess.
So
And
you think
too
it would be
much.
better to be a listing agent now versus during the last 3 years? I mean, I know it was kind of easy the last 3 years.
I think it takes more
Ooh.
I wouldn't
skill.
say easy, but easier.
I think it takes more skill to be a listing agent now, because during that, couple years, you really could just take a listing easily, throw it up, and
The
go.
hardest part I think about that run was navigating offers,
Mhm.
making sure you presented every offer correctly and accurately. And I'll even say, I think that was probably my best year. I think 98 deals that year.
That's it.
That's
Why
it.
didn't you do 100?
So I had a couple of them fall out. I had a big development deal fall out that year. That would have been killer. But I did right at 31 million that year. And that was the most chaotic year of my career.
Oh, I bet.
And not in terms because I'd worked religiously on ridiculous hours. It was because navigating, the amount of offers you were seeing.
30 offers. On
But
one
see,
deal,
the weird thing is I never had a situation like that.
no.
Yeah.
In that entire year, I never had 15, 17 offers. Like it was, I had 2 or 3,
Yeah.
but I had so many contracts going at one time, sorting through all of that. So you have, 10 listings up at a time, and every one of them has 4
And you don't have
offers.
a computer, so it's just like papers on your desk.
Well, I do own a
Fax
computer.
machine.
But that was when I decided to hire Amy, because like trying to navigate that, break down offers on every listing. I will never forget. I totally forgot his name. Lloyd Kelly. When we sold his house in Bernie, and this was a $1.2 million house, I presented him the wrong offer
Ooh.
from another house. That was like a
No.
$300,000 house. He was like, Chris,
Wrong
I'm going to
one.
hang up and I'm going to call you back and we're going to start over. And I was like, oh my God. Because I had so much going on. That was the hardest part
Yeah.
about navigating that market and keeping up with your sellers, your buyers.
Yep.
Because I didn't work with a ton of buyers that year. I think I did 15 or 18 buyers. And that I think was the hardest part. Now you better know how to negotiate.
Mhm.
You better know how to explain your listing representation, your listing agreement. Better know how to explain a contract. Better know how to understand a contract and what a buyer's agent that is uneducated on how to write a contract is trying to accomplish with that contract, so that you can help coach them to do their job right. Not coach, mentor. That's, I think, the hardest part. Being a producing listing agent now and being successful at it, and like I've told y'all before, that run, I thought buyer's agents worked way harder than listing agents because
Oh,
you were,
100%.
I mean,
Again, I was with a couple different brokers before here. I learned way more in that first year than I did in my first 3 years of being licensed before joining the team. But the biggest thing too is I feel like a lot of these homeowners who were working with these listing agents that didn't know what they were doing, they're the ones that really got screwed. Like there was a couple deals that I did where, again, small things like the homeowner, like we go do our final walkthrough, all the TV mounts are gone, like just small things like that. This literally just happened to me maybe about 2 weeks ago. All the TV mounts are gone. The pool's completely green. Electricity's off.
That was last week.
Yeah, it was last, like electricity is literally off. And on the day of walkthrough, like you're supposed to have it all the way through. And we're like, we cannot do a walkthrough. But the agent, she was a teacher. She just did this part-time. It was a $630,000 house. It wasn't a cheap house. I'm like, you literally just screwed your seller. Not really screwed them, but they could have walked away. She ended up buying 6 new TV mounts, had them all installed, had to have the pool cleaned. She spent like maybe $2,000 or $3,000 just to get all that fixed, just so we can close.
But see, I'm not a fan of part-time agents, but that's if she was a full-time agent, that's a good agent.
Yeah.
She owned it, and she said, and I've done it. God, I can't tell you how many times.
She paid for it and stuff.
Where she said, you know what? I'm not going to put this on my seller. This is on me for not educating my seller right, and I'm going to make it right. I had an entire attic rewired in a house that I sold my second or third year. It cost me almost $2,800. But you got the deal done, and you didn't use your ego to persuade you from doing it. My sellers, I knew they couldn't afford to do it, and I knew if I came back after them for it, they were going to flip out.
Yeah.
And because I didn't, and they did find out later that I did it, they probably sent me 4 or 5 deals. I mean, that's a good agent.
If they're full-time, yeah.
But I want to see some. I need to
it.
see. I would like to see more full-time agents like that, and there's not. There's not at all.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's a lot of greedy people out there.
Oh yeah, but even, and I would ask you the same question on the buyer side, like what? Because I really can't speak to that. But what makes a high-producing buyer's agent, and what do you see them struggling with now?
Yeah, I think on the listing side, it's a little bit more skill. Not to say that buyer's agents aren't skilled, but it's a little bit more refined in your presentation. You have to win the seller over. You have to be honed in on your numbers. You have to know the market for what the trends are, what sells, what does not sell. And you have to be confident enough to walk into someone's house and say, you have to paint that red wall that you love, or we're going to have to maybe reduce the list price by a couple grand or something. You've got to have hard conversations with sellers. With buyers, they're excited about looking at houses. They're going to bring their baby home in this house. They're
can't
just
wait for their dad
excited.
to inspect it.
Yeah, they can't wait for their dad to come over and look at the wiring and tell you what's wrong. No, but on the buy side, it's really more about a high sense of urgency, being responsive. The agents who aren't in their email and aren't responsive on messages and aren't responsive to us are probably not going to make good agents. You know, they're not in it. And so the responsiveness and just presence communication is number one, because you are wearing a lot of hats as the buyer's agent. You're talking to a lot of different people. You're making sure that your fiduciary lies with your client and you're protecting them, and you're making sure that they get the best deal possible while it's still the best house possible for them. So it's really on the buy side more about communication, responsiveness, being there for your client, knowing how to explain things to them to navigate the transaction properly, write up a good offer, being organized, all of that, which is all stuff that people are capable of. I truly don't know that everyone is capable of being a high-level listing agent. And I'm not saying that because I was. I'm just saying that I'm just saying that it's a different beast. And I remember Carlos worked his first couple listings. He was like, I'm gonna be a listing agent. I really want to do listings. I'm gonna do this. And he got his first couple listings, and then they sat on the market a little bit. And he was like, I do not like listings.
Yeah. Well, it was just a learning curve.
Yeah, it is.
So again, as a buyer's agent, you think like, oh, these listing agents are just sitting back, putting the sign in the yard and just waiting.
Yeah.
And again, just not doing anything. But no, it's work, especially even just getting that appointment, if you're competing with other agents, like you got to go in there confident, know what you're talking about. If you don't know what you're talking about, they're going to see right through you and not ever want to talk to you again.
I think
Yeah.
it's funny because like on the buyer's side, as a buyer's agent, I feel like you get a little more control of the situation. You're picking the houses they want to go.
Yeah.
50-50. They're picking some, you're picking some, and they're asking for your advice on, oh, is this a good one? Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, let me write it up. Where listing is like, all right, here's the price that I think it's worth. Nope, my house is worth $1 million. Sir, you live on the southeast side of San Antonio. Like it's worth 200,000. No. I know that my neighbor who lives in the Dominion just sold his for $2,000 a square foot. Sir, how big was that house? 6,000 square foot. Okay, we're living in a 1,200 square foot house. So like you got that side of it, the proud seller.
Yep.
Being able to tell them, what's wrong with the house and why. That's the tough part. But you're waiting. You're sitting back waiting. I don't have control of the buyers coming to the house. I've got to sit here and wait. And you have those up and down ebbs and flows where it's like you could go 45 days without writing a contract or having a contract.
Yeah.
And if you're not working, some buyers to supplement. That's why I like the team side of it, is that I work a lot of my sphere and I can supplement with some team business. But listing is stressful as hell because yes, you're dealing with one person, but that one person's personality and then their spouse's personality are normally polar opposites.
That's when they're going through divorce.
Ooh, I'm doing one right now.
Me too.
One right now.
Me too.
Oh, I would say divorce is probably the second worst. It's the one that's the worst is where it's an estate and you got siblings fighting over it.
I haven't done one of those yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing one, but it's only one kid. So.
No, I'm doing one. I got one under contract now, and I've got one that I'm working on. That's an absolute nightmare. You had mentioned a topic that I think is a really good topic to talk about with using real estate and the VA side of it on the buyer and seller side to create wealth.
Yeah. So essentially, even when I got in real estate as a veteran, most of us don't know what we can do with our VA loan. Most think that, oh, we use our VA loan one time, am I even approved for it? I didn't retire. Like people just don't know what you can do with the VA loan. And I didn't really learn till I bought my first house, and that was 2016. I got in real estate after I bought my first house, but I was like, hey, I can do that. And essentially, people don't know what you can do. And there's methods where you can buy your house, what you can live in it for 2 years, go buy another one, rent that one out. How many times can you actually do that? Can you do it? Is there a limit on how many times you can do that?
No, but you're capped. So
and your
a VA loan. Yeah. So like for someone who's not using VA eligibility, they have an uncapped loan amount. So you can do VA jumbo loans, whatever. But once you use eligibility, you are now capped at a certain amount. I think it's
with your entitlement. Is that what you're talking about?
Your entitlement. Yeah, I think it's like 785 or something like that. Somewhere around there. So for example, my very first house that I bought, I paid like $170,000 for it, 2012. And then I stayed there for 2 years.
A mansion back then.
Huh?
I said that's
it was
like a
2,000 square foot, brand new house in Converse. It was a badass house. And I lived there for 2 years, and then we bought another one. So what we did was, since I only used $169,000 my eligibility, at that time the VA cap was $750,000 max. So I went and bought another one on the other side of town, closer to where I live now. That was 2,700 square foot. We got like 260,000. So now I was like, okay, well, I have $160,000 loan, so I had $600,000 or $540,000 left over. I can afford to buy another one. So I bought another one and I rented that one out. But you can't keep your exemption because I was 100%. So I couldn't keep my exemption on that property. So I had to move it to my primary residence. Standard tax hit on that one. But because the interest rates were low and everything like that, it was, I think, like 3.5% or something.
You rented out for.
I rented it out. I was making like $600 a month off of it. And I wish like hell I would have kept it, because then I could have had two. Because my third house that I bought, the one I built, I used conventional. So I could have kept both of those houses under VA.
What are you living now?
Yeah, I went conventional.
Oh, okay.
I could still have those other two houses under VA and renting them out and just making a flipping fortune off of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the VA side of it and the wealth side of it, it's changed over the years. I mean, we've seen so many different changes with rules. I mean, when Kendall got in the business, I don't even think they had the VA in place. I don't even know, like, but no, it was, there's a lot of good ways leveraging your exemptions. So especially in this day,
again, I'm still myself trying to learn. I'm not 100% on everything. Can you, like, let's say you buy that house, the first one with the VA loan, 2 years later, you buy your second one. can you refinance that first one into a conventional loan, keep it, and open up your entitlement? Does that
Absolutely.
so you can keep going that way?
You could, yeah.
Or I mean, obviously resell it or sell it and just kind of doing that.
I mean, you play off the rates.
Yeah.
for
Well,
the
I'm just thinking
refinance.
about if I wanted to stack up like 10 rentals for retirement or something.
You could, but I don't think it would be a standard conventional loan. You could probably answer that better.
No,
I think it would be
an
a investor loan or a second,
Yeah.
a second mortgage,
yeah. So,
or not a second mortgage.
so you're going to have higher rates.
Yeah,
things
it's
like
going to
that.
be a much higher rate. Like the house that I bought, the last rental I bought, it's 2 years ago, I guess. Interest rates were 4.25%, 4.5%. My interest rate on that's like 5.75
Okay.
because I had to buy it under a different type of loan because I have a conventional loan.
Yeah.
So if it's not going to be your primary residence, it cannot be a standard conventional, standard FHA, standard VA, because you have to be primary residence inside of, I think, 60 days. So when you close, you have 60 days to move in and live there. Period.
You want to buy a duplex, like
Now that
house
you can
hacking-
do.
house hacking where you live on one side, rent out the other.
That's exactly right. That's what I did. I say the very first house I bought was a fourplex in Fort Hood.
I was going to say you could do fourplexes
Yeah.
as well.
And I lived in one with 3 roommates. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It was like 1,300 square foot, but we were never there. I mean, first of all, we were deployed most of the time. And then I rented the other 3 units out and I made hand over fist, like collecting BAH plus BAS. I wasn't even using, that was my bar money. And
right. Yeah, but we know you don't drink, but yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It was that's a dry county anyways. Bell County. If Bell County's a dry county, you have to be a member to go to the bars there.
Yeah, but I really think a goal of ours, even just as a team, is to really start helping more veterans. Like we don't necessarily market to a lot of veterans here in San Antonio. I mean, I work with a lot of veterans, but I really want to start pushing that just because I really want to help out as many people as I can grow that wealth. Just because I knew at one point, I didn't even know anything about real estate, but once you start learning about it and you can actually build yourself a future, I just want to start pushing that out there. So I'm currently learning as much as I can on that because I know more traditional real estate. I've never really did the investing side. I'm just now doing my first flip, which is going. It's going. It's going. That's all I'm
Every
gonna
first
say.
flip goes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't go anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're gonna at least make a little bit of money. Like as long as I don't lose money, I'm happy. Going through the experience, that's the main thing. But I really want to start getting that out there, pushing that out there to the masses. Because again, yeah, I want to, of course, help other people, but I want to obviously do more real estate as well. But I just think more people need to use the VA loan. And like yourself, what was the reason that you went conventional versus VA?
The VA appraiser that came to my house. So when you do a new build, VA, and I want everybody to hear this, and I want you to understand what I'm saying when I say this. The VA does not do custom homes. There is no such thing as a VA builder's loan. Stop asking. Stop telling people that. It doesn't exist.
I didn't know that.
What it is certain builders will carry the loan on the construction loan, and you will pay the interest on each draw, which is essentially a mortgage. And every time you draw, it goes up because you pay. For example, when I built my house, it was so much money. I had to put 5%.
So much
I don't-
money.
No, I mean, like it was it was not. I promise you, it was not very much money. But there was so much money that I was going to
Certain
build
amount.
my house for, and so I had to put 5% into a CD, go into a conventional loan, put 5% into the CD, and put that at the bank, and then it had to stay in that bank the whole time it was being built. The builder, who just so happened to be a good friend of mine and a big client of ours, she basically put up the money or her credit to carry the construction loan. So she took the construction loan
So it
out
was
for
like
me.
under her name.
Yep. But she
okay.
knew that CD was there and it was signed over to her. If something happened, she got that $25,000. So every time she took a draw, the very first draw was, let's just say it was $100,000 for slab form, slab, plumbing, tie-in, rough-in, electrical rough-in, framing, whatever, $100,000. I paid interest, whatever that interest number was, on that $100,000 right there on that draw. $1,300. Second draw comes around 2 months later. Okay, there's another 100 and whatever, but that's on top of the 100 she already pulled.
Yeah.
So now I'm paying interest on 225,000.
Okay.
Bam, that's $1,700, $1,800. So it goes up. So you want to get a builder that's not going to take 2 years to build your house. Like
Yeah.
we did ours in I think 6 months. So I ended up paying $8,000 or $9,000 in interest, but The VA didn't do construction loans. I didn't plan on going conventional. And so it was just, to me, it was like, that's just easier. And she's carrying all the liability. So when we came to close, we were going to close it into a final, which was going to be a VA loan. VA appraiser comes out there, appraised the house at basically, I think we were like $80,000 undervalued.
Jeez.
And I freaked. I called the builder and she's like, dude, we'll figure it out. I was like, no, like, you don't understand. Like, I cannot, like, I can't buy this house. Like at that point, I wasn't cash heavy. I had just bought another rental. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And we hadn't sold our house yet, the house that we lived in. So I was like, okay, so I challenged the appraisal, went through the whole process, but the appraiser was like, Chris, like, you got to understand, you're the first house in, well, I think I was the second house in that subdivision. He's like, there's nothing to comp you off of. There was nothing like that around. There was no other gated communities around there. It was just a crapshoot. Like, he was just trying to make it work. So I was like, all right, well, this sucks. So the lender, Jennifer Schultz, with the First Commercial at the time, called. She's like, look, let's try to run it conventional, get a different appraiser. Let's see what happens. Appraiser came out, another guy did appraisal, came in $100,000 higher than the VA appraisal.
Wow.
And I was like, this can't be right. Something's off. And she's like, I don't care. I'll take it. I was like, so what are you saying? She goes, just leave your CD. There's your 5% down. Do it conventional. I was like, okay. Lucky for us, when the VA finally responded, they said that appraiser was wrong, and my house ended up appraising VA, but I'd already closed conventional. We just didn't wait for them to come back from the regional center in Houston with the protest.
I was going to say, you brought up a good point that I think a lot of people don't know is that you can protest a VA loan. A lot of people think, oh, it's the VA appraisal, it's set in stone, that's it. Like I've come across many times where like, oh, it's like on the listing side, some people just don't know. Oh, it's VA. That's just what it is. But you can actually
two ways
protest it. I was gonna say, go over the process with you.
So you got two ways you can protest a VA loan. The very first way is called Tidewater. They typically, the lender will get word from the appraiser that's not going to meet value, give you an opportunity, the listing agent, an opportunity to provide your data to show that this is where I got my numbers from. More often than not, when I have a listing, if I see an appraiser going out to the property, I've already sent him my CMA. The minute he requests a showing, I send him my data. They appreciate that because it's less work they have to do, but they're still going to follow up on it, make sure I'm not bullshitting or whatever. If, in fact, whatever reason, my data doesn't align with the appraiser and the Tidewater issue, which a Tidewater issue is basically the appraiser saying we're not going to meet value, and it's not related to conditions 2. Conditions 2 meaning wood rot in the fascia boards. So if you have a VA loan and you're going to $300,000 appraisal value and the appraiser sees wood rot, they're going to say this is condition 2. If you fix this, it'll appraise for $300,000. But until you fix this, we're not going to close on it. Same with FHA, any government-backed loan. So it comes back. He says, nope, I can't get my numbers there. All right, cool. Now you have to go and do what's called a grid form. There's a grid form. It's I don't know the form number. I have it on my desk. There's a grid form you fill out, and it's basically a very, very detailed CMA summary. You do your CMA summary in MLS, you fill this grid form out, and you answer every damn question. There's like 27 or 28 questions, and you have to be very specific. And they want dates, they want square footage, price per square foot, they want a date it closed, like how far out you went. I mean, I would bet I've probably done a dozen or two, and I bet they take 45 minutes to an hour a piece. Just filling out the form. Then you attach your data. Then you attach the listing itself. Then you attach the veteran's information. And then you have to get a letter from the buyer giving you permission to protest it. Well, the buyer will be crazy. Like, if the buyer is not going to let you protest it, the seller's probably going to say, well, go pound sand. So I haven't come across a buyer that said, no, don't protest it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. If you think about it, the buyer would be like, oh, no, screw you. You ain't protesting it. I want it at that price.
Yeah. That's
what
what
the seller doesn't have to close. So you have to get a letter from the buyer, borrower giving you permission to protest it. You send it to the regional center in Houston. There's an email address that you send it to with a case number, the VA file number, and they'll basically look it over, and then they'll call the appraiser, and they'll call you. And I have not had one come back where the regional center chose the appraiser over me. I've won every single one I've done. Now I have a friend that got his ass kicked by an appraiser, not physically, but on doing doing a protest. I think it's a team member. I can't remember, but he basically, like, they called the regional center. I know the guy. His name is Douglas. He works at the regional center. He's the one that handles all this stuff. Oh, he was pissed because I mean, this agent went like 6 miles out. Like he was
Shit.
pulling in shit from subdivisions that's like,
Different
no,
counties.
that's in Tilden. That's like 2 hours away.
Mhm.
But he was trying. I mean, he's trying to do his best, but that's the only one I've ever seen lose.
Reaching.
Because the VA doesn't want to see the veteran lose the house.
Yeah.
They want to try to, if it makes sense, they're going to try to make it work. And you got VA, FHA conventional, all those appraisers, they appraise on the same standard. Don't let anybody tell you differently. The VA is not harder than, matter of fact, I would say right now, more VA appraisers are meeting
It wasn't
value.
always that way. So a lot of people have that misconception
Yeah.
because it used to be different, but now they all follow the same guidelines.
But the difference wasn't the standard, it was the requirements needed
Yeah,
Right.
to meet value, the
Don't feel like it's never
conditions
the
too.
price.
And
It's just a condition.
yeah, and from the consumer perspective, if you have a veteran who's bought, 15
Mhm.
years ago and they had a bad experience, they know it's harder.
Right.
All they know is VA loans are difficult, or somebody who's done a transaction, even if they're not a veteran, when it was different. I would get that a lot. Like, I don't want a VA buyer because of that. And you have to kind of re-educate people that it's not.
And I think
It's
COVID
scary.
reignited that too.
Yeah, it did
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah.
Like, talk about how what you saw on the selling side from agents that worked with VA buyers and sellers were like,
Nope, don't want it. Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's already that little
Stigma.
negative mindset. Yeah, that stigma. And then toss in COVID and people are going 50 grand over list price, and
Yeah.
conventional buyers are often the only ones that have that kind of cash to cover. So
well, not only
Yeah.
that, but they didn't have all the stipulations and rules to follow, like
Right.
VA or FHA,
Yeah.
which is
more
weird
workable.
because FHA, you didn't hear this about,
No.
Mm-mm.
but it's the same standards.
Yep.
Same exact standards,
Yep.
government backed loan, same requirements, but because agents were, and look, I'll tell you, there was times where I took conventional over VA, even if they were the same, because I knew how much easier. Let me rephrase that. Trek, if you're watching, I will rephrase what I just said. I did not take anything like that. I would advise my client their options, and my clients would choose that because we knew, hey, look, there might be some issues with the transition strip on tile to carpet or something, and that VA is going to make you do it.
Mhm.
A little bit of rot in the fascia boards. They didn't have a drip edge under the roof line, and they did have the roof changed. That's $6,000 right there. So it's like you put veterans at a disadvantage because the cash side of it, for one,
Yep.
and two, the conditions, which is why you saw so many VA buyers buying new construction.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And guess what you're seeing now?
They can't get them
Yeah,
sold.
Losing
so-
money.
Yeah, that's Carlos can tell you that's one of my biggest soapboxes, because I truly think the intentions are great for the VA loan. It's zero down, better interest rates than you can get on any other loan type. It does a lot to serve our veterans, who are a population we need to take care of.
Yeah.
But I think we as an agent community do a disservice to veterans often, because especially in military cities like San Antonio, people are moving in and we're like not asking how long are you going to be here, not asking enough questions to help navigate what their future is going to look like. So they're here on orders for 2 years, and then they're going to be stationed in Georgia after that. And in 2 years, they're not going to be able to sell their house,
Don't
And
buy solar panels.
Don't add solar panels. ever.
Carlos, I just called you
VA
Caesar again.
Oh my gosh. VA or not, don't add solar panels.
So that's my biggest pet peeve, because I'll get on Shift Talk. And I'll look at the first thing I look at is pages that go looking for sales reps in this community. And I'll just scroll through, and how many of them are VA buyers?
Oh yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's for VA. My pet peeve is, if you are an agent, the last place you should take a veteran is a new build community. And there's two reasons why. One, agents do it because it's easy.
Mhm.
They can hand them over. They're going to get paid. They ain't got to mess with the contract. None of the bullshit that goes on with it.
Mhm.
It's gone. Bye. 7 years, 400 something transactions. I've sold one production home, a Lennar home,
Mhm.
a couple weeks ago,
Mhm.
once, because I sell development. So I know what the development starts at, how it's going to be developed, how long it's going to take to build it out. And as an agent, that veteran buys, especially in the beginning of that development, he's got 5 to 7 years before he ever sees a penny of equity,
100%.
Yep.
because you're never going to know what the market's going to do. Look at the ones that bought 2 years ago, and you will not ever be able to compete with a builder. They
Yeah.
can lose money and be fine.
Especially that first phase.
Oh, dude,
Yikes.
I get agents on the team that call me all the time. Hey, we got this veteran. Don't take them to new build. Find a remodeled resale.
Yep.
Find something that you can grab a little bit of equity because they're already going in upside down because they've not put anything down. Yes, their earnest money is going to get applied to the loan, but you're also going to have orders in 2 years, 3 years, or whatever it is, and they don't know.
Yep.
And you can't pigeonhole them to a home that just, one, there's not going to be a rental record for it. There's no rental roll for it because you're in a new build community and chances are a developer or an investor's probably bought 10, 15, 20 of those homes already. You can't compete with an investor. They can handle a much lower cap rate. And they're working off of BAH and BAS. So if they can't sell it, first of all, they don't pay those guys enough as it is. BAH and BAS is only going to cover that one mortgage. When they go somewhere else, they're not going to let you live on base because you're already an off-base personnel.
See,
you're already collecting BAH and BAS. So if you're collecting BAH and BAS, you can't live on base. You got to find somewhere to live off base. And if your mortgage is being paid by this, you don't have the money to live anywhere else.
Going to an apartment.
100%. And if you do get on base housing, guess what? Your BAH and BAS is gone. You better hope that rental, what you rented it for, if you can rent it, will cover your mortgage and taxes and your insurance.
Yep.
So I will never steer clients, but I would advise veterans the disadvantage that they're at by buying new construction in a new construction subdivision, unless it's a higher end spec home community that's 200 homes, 150 homes, that's going to be built out
Right.
quickly. Because then I know that they're going to, 2-3 years.
Yep.
What's the growth rate in San Antonio? It's 6 to 8% a year.
Yep.
So in 2 to 3 years, you're going to gain hopefully by then 10% equity. That's enough to cover your fees.
Yep.
7.5% is your roundabout number, commissions, closing, everything. You got 10%, you're going to have a little bit of money left.
Unless you had solar panel, and you can't pay for nothing.
You'll be there forever.
The solar panel
You
thing
got
is
solar
so,
panel.
it just pisses me off so much. I'm surprised we didn't get anybody to say shit about that when I posted.
Yeah.
I posted that specific video in Shift Talk just to
Oh, yeah.
troll and see if somebody would say something, but
All the solar panel people
Nobody
are
did.
real estate agents now.
it's
Yeah.
funny. Oh God, dude, they are. They are.
Well, I see some that are real estate agents. They're lenders. They're all.
Well, they're just a jack of all trades, master of none. I always say, if you're this, and this, you're not good at anything.
Yeah.
You just keep trying to. But that's social media, and that's another thing I want to touch with you on because you give me hell sometimes because of some of the things that I say on social media. I'm not known to have a very great filter.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you knew that.
I did. I knew that from the first conversation I had with you.
Yeah, I was standing in front of a client's house. He was like, "Hell, are you talking to?" I'm like, "Oh, it's fine. It's fine."
For like an hour grilling me on
Oh yeah, I want to know who the hell
the
this
things.
person was. Anyways, we don't have a hard and fast social media policy, but I am a stickler on social media about certain things that agents say. Obviously, about I don't like it when brokers or agents bully new agents, but I hate the social media influencer style, the type, because I think it's an impediment on our industry. I think it definitely, there's a time and place for social media. Obviously, we're doing a flipping podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a time and place for social media, but we're not here to be social media influencers.
No.
We just want to talk about real estate, try to educate as best we can. Where do you see social media taking the real estate industry, whether it be positive or negative?
I mean, I think social media to me and my business is really only good for reaching out to my sphere. And I think that's how I tell the agents that they should look at it too. Like it's another avenue to get in front of the people that you already know and show them what you're doing in real estate. But you've got to do it in a respectful way. You've got to do it in a professional way. Respect yourself, respect others. We don't, like you said, we don't have a hard and fast social media policy, but you are representing a brand. You're not only representing your brand, but you're representing Shane and Clint's brand. You're representing Keller Williams' brand. I don't know those guys. They're not even here.
I think I think they clean the office at night or something.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That didn't come from me, guys.
I think I think there's a place for social media, but I don't do a lot with social media for my business. I have a realtor page, but I don't do a lot for it.
You're kidding. I've seen your kids play T-ball 3,700 times.
But they're so cute.
Right.
Oh man,
Bunch
did
of
you
little-
watch him slide?
Bunch of little
home?
Tillmans. Yeah, they slid twice. And he didn't slid. He fell slowly.
He slid and then he
That was
over
the
a
home
base
base.
plan.
That was the home base one. The second or the third base one, or he like cut across the field or something.
Yeah.
He went into second base. He started to slide and he just went.
Yeah.
And then he got a.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. And I don't
So
watch
good.
stories, but that one was like, I was like, what the?
What is he doing?
It's like a bunch of little Tillmans running around. Like,
Yeah, it is. It is a lot of Tillmans.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
But
No, but Carlos, I always rip Carlos because he's on all the social medias and all doing all the things. And I think a lot of agents don't have time to do it. And he's spoken to that too. Like it's taken so much time to try and do this. And you can do it. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but to generate new business from elsewhere from social media is just really hard to do now. It's so saturated. So the best route, in my opinion, is be yourself, show that you're doing this and you're seriously working in real estate. Because I think a lot of people, you get your real estate license and people are like, oh yeah, they're in real estate now. So you want to show the people that you are actually doing it, but not in a phony, silly, ridiculous way,
For me, when I first got started, I'm still
Mr. TikTok.
I'm not as heavily as I was before, but I still do it, but I don't do it looking for clients. I'm actually doing it looking for referrals from other agents across the US.
And that's where it's at.
I get more other agents out there.
Little genie
Yeah.
bottle.
Yeah.
I don't even. Oh my
I
gosh.
love you, Caesar. I love you.
We do.
But ultimately, that's kind of where my target is now. I do a lot of stuff that makes other realtors laugh and stuff like that because they're like, "Oh, that's funny. Let me go ahead and add you." And honestly, like my social media, I've gained a lot more followers from doing that rather than trying to chase buyers and sellers. Because all these buyers and sellers, they have 80 other realtors posting the same stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be different. I don't care. So many agents are still scared to be on camera. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't care. I'm just myself.
She was terrified.
Either you like me or you don't.
I'm not, actually.
But there's so many agents that want to be perfect. They want to be like Selling Sunset. Like, oh, let me be perfect. I'm like, I'm just my goofy self. And those are those videos where I do randomly, where I'm literally just waiting there for a showing or something. Those get the most attraction, most likes, most views. So I'm like, I don't ever try to be perfect. Because when you do, people can tell that from a mile away. Speaking of that, using AI, some of that technology, you can actually clone yourself as being perfect. What do y'all think about that?
I think
in regards to those?
first of all, we already have
too much of him.
well, no, like you look. God, you're so bad. You look at some of these pictures of these agents.
Oh yeah.
And then you meet them in person. Like you ever seen that I guess
catfish
is it a meme or it's a video or whatever, and the guy's like, oh, walking in to wake up my beautiful wife and she rolls over, she's like a little chihuahua.
Oh yeah.
So I see these pictures, these agents, I'm like, oh man, that's a good looking dude. Man, she's a pretty lady. And you see them in your person, and you're like, who the hell are you? Like you just catfished me on a real estate transaction.
Pictures from the 90s.
Like, dude, so the AI is even worse because clients see that. Like clients will see that. Like I don't doctor my pictures. Maybe I should. I don't know. Yeah, but like you see, like I see these agents and I'll see their pictures. I'm like super professional. Hey, this is awesome. And you see them in person, and you're like, did you eat an entire Wendy's before you got here? Like, what did you do? But it's deceiving to me. It's deceiving.
Just have those pictures from like 15 years ago.
But it goes into the entire social media thing. Like, we don't do like
we're just fake.
It's fraudulent to me.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be, at some point, I think there's going to be conversations about fraud and how you're representing yourself on social media, representing your brand on social media, because I was anti-social media for my business because I do have conversations on social media that I probably shouldn't have just because of bullshitting with friends or whatever.
It's an election year.
Sports. Oh, boy, the Cowboys and Longhorns. But that's my personal page. And I do not accept friend requests from clients. I will not be friends with clients unless I'm like,
unless you actually know the
or
client.
we're doing consistent business and I know our personalities are aligned. Like, and but for the most part, it's almost every client will friend request me. Sorry. And I'll tell, hey, look, you want to follow my realtor page? Shannon Clint's the ones that told me to get the realtor page because I didn't want it. So I got it. I started doing a couple videos. Yeah, they got some views, but it wasn't my style. Like I like just kind of just plugging along. When Amy came on, when I hired Amy and she took it over, she changed it because what it was a lot of people posting, oh, well, look how pretty I am, or look at this super provocative outfit I'm wearing. Or, well, that's fair. That's fair. I didn't look good in a low cut shirt. Or check out this badass house that I'm not even listing.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing a tour of this house. Oh, by the way, this is listed by, like, you didn't even do that, but here you are promoting somebody else's success, which is fine.
Yeah.
But that's not my style. So Amy saw that. And she's like, you know what? Instead of, we're going to start busting your wins. Houses going under contract, volume. We don't do it quarterly, but every half year. Because to me, I think, and we pick up I bet we do 25-30% of my business off social media. And it's a big portion of my business. And it's people that are responding to my volume. And I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, here come everybody posting their volume.
People like success.
Sure. Great. You don't like it, but guess what? When a client gets on social media and they see Brad the realtor trashing some new build, but then they see, oh, here's Chris Jacobs who did $30 million last year on 75 transactions with an average price point of $600,000. Well, I don't need to see him trash a house because this guy knows what the hell he's doing. Brad the realtor is funny as hell. It's hilarious watching that.
It is.
But guess what? It's borderline unethical.
I agree.
And it's also diluting what we do as a business.
Yeah.
This is not a playground. This is not a fuck off session. Excuse my language. This is your business.
Yeah.
Be respectful of your business. Be respectful of the brand you
house.
But it's also a brand you represent. It's a brokerage you represent. Do you think Joe Sloan wants me parading around in Daisy Dukes and a low cut shirt?
You probably wouldn't be on the team anymore.
Well, excuse me. That's, how dare you? Anyways.
Oh yeah.
But I'm saying, like, it's not just respecting yourself, it's understanding your brand. And there's so many people out here that, man, I get on there. I think I was just telling Brittany the other day or yesterday, I was like, dude, these agents and the shit they post. Like, look, I am very simple, like very baseline, call like is. I'm not afraid to cuss, very boots and jeans, but
belt buckle.
But I got a new one. But man, the stuff and like I'll post an F-bomb here and there and cut, but man, I'll get on there and I'll see like this realtor is using their personal page as their platform, right? And they're showing these houses great. That's awesome. The next TikTok or next video you see is they're in a bar, standing on it, dancing on the bar. And I'm like, dude, like this is our industry, and this is why we're getting sued.
100%.
This is why we get the reputation we get, because we're out here flashing like, look, yeah, I go on trips, I have fun. Yeah, I get some pictures in Vegas, whatever. You're not going to see me dancing on a stripper pole at a bar or
the ones that are doing that is because they got that one deal, they made some money, let's go spend it. They come back and they're broke, like all the time.
And they're celebrating. Oh, I got another closing 4 months later.
Yeah.
Well, like you're not going to be successful doing that. There's a level of professionalism, and we've gotten away from that in the real estate industry as a society, as the family unit. Like that's what I love about our team is that the team still very much goes into that, still very much follows that professionalism. But it's funny you mentioned the AI thing, because I think AI is going to be a problem. There's some give and take with it. Chat GPT is awesome using it.
That's what I was going to bring up.
listings.
I feel like there's all this AI stuff. I'm very much into technology. I love technology. That's what I went to school for before real estate. So I'm all about it all. But so the only stuff that's actually usable on an everyday basis is Chat GPT. And if you actually dive into it and really learn how to use it, I mean, Chat GPT is next level.
Lot. Yeah.
It's definitely next level. Like you could put like, I mean, you could really figure out anything. You could take like, for example, YouTube, we could download all of our data. Like this is probably way over y'all's head, but you can literally download all of your data. Like let's say you do 10 videos. You just download the data, it downloads it into a spreadsheet. You upload the spreadsheet to Chat GPT and ask, hey, what are the top performing videos related to this? It'll spit out like 10 different video topics. Like, all right, just do these videos because they're performing the best just by putting your data. Like I could never do that on my own. Yeah. But there's just things like that. It's just going to make things so much easier.
As long as we don't
Using
take
it-
advantage of it.
Using it to make your life easier and to give you ideas or boost your creativity or help write a quick caption or something because you don't have the brain space for it. That kind of thing is different than then creating a video that looks like you putting it out to clients.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like using AI as an imposter for
Yeah,
yourself
yeah.
doesn't give the customer a good view of who
No,
you are,
100%.
you know?
Yeah. I
That's
played
where it
I played
takes
around with some of
different.
that, but I couldn't see myself sending it to anybody.
Yeah.
I thought about it one time, but I was like, nah, that's,
Well, this
that's not real.
this conversation went a lot longer than I expected it to. I figured she'd be out for about 5 minutes.
Right.
You know, I can
Hard
talk.
and fast pressure questions. We have 2 more topics, but we obviously don't have time to get into them, and they're really good topics. So we're probably going to bring them back for next week if we do another episode next week, which I think we will. I think I'm going to try and get John Garza to come up here to talk about home inspections.
Okay.
But Kendall, we really appreciate you coming on. I know that you expected this nightmarish scenario with me coming out saying how
It did get
shitty
hot,
the
yeah.
Aggies are and that nobody likes Yell Night, and but I would
Yell
never
Night.
do that.
Yes,
Like,
you would.
no.
Off mic, you
I
would
listen.
do that every time.
Nobody would want to disrespect
What's
all
today's
that
date?
stuff. It's
No, I don't want to hear it. Don't do it. Don't do
He
it.
doesn't have it off the top of his head.
today's date.
No, but from your book.
Oh no, I had to get the book. I got to get the book. Oh yeah, I'll make sure and post that
Thanks for
later.
that, Carlos. Thanks for that.
But no, we really appreciate you coming and spending time with us, talking, and hopefully everybody sees this and understands kind of a little bit more about what the team does and how it brings perspective to real estate. I hope you enjoy the podcast as well. I know that the feedback so far has been really good. We'll get this out here in a couple of days if Carlos will get off his ass and do something. But for
Busy selling
I'm
houses.
trying. This
For-
has actually been probably the busiest month I've had in my entire
you're
career.
kicking my ass.
I love it.
I should be-
I love to see it.
I looked yesterday. You are kicking my
I
ass.
feel good
Love
about
to
it
see
too.
I am so proud.
And I'm probably
It's
going to
gonna-
get a $1.3 million deal signed today.
It'll be the
So,
second month in a row that I
Seven
don't make top 5.
I know.
dang.
I know.
But I'm fine with that
Do you
because
still
I've
work
got
here?
some big shit lined up across the next.
Work here anymore? Or?
I mean, whenever I want to.
I mean, he has plenty of time to do a podcast.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm.
He's
There
become
is
an
nothing
influencer.
that makes me happier than seeing everybody else be at the top and make me have to earn it even more.
Yeah.
it's a cool
It's-
cool thing to see some of the new blood at the top of the
Well, I mean,
leaderboard.
it's 64
I
against
mean,
1.
yeah.
At some point, this has got to happen.
Yeah, but it's so much fun to see
I love
like
it. It's
Nessa
so-
and Mariah and
So
all of
Alexandra.
them killing it. Yeah, Alex. is killing
Mariah,
it.
Nessa, Alexis, Hallie, those agents that are probably all going to hit the millionaire.
Girls.
No, well, look,
bring some
look,
guys up.
look,
They're hustlers,
dude. I'll say it.
Yeah, so
They are
girls.
outworking dudes. These dudes in this team, like you would.
No,
And not to
100%.
say that y'all aren't working hard, but like that's the shit I love to see because people look down at that side of the industry. But go ahead, second guess them
Yeah.
because those chicks right there will smoke any agent outside of this team and most of them inside this team. I love to see it.
Yep.
I'll take that all day long.
It's great.
So thank y'all for tuning in, Kendall. Thank you for showing up. I'm surprised you actually did show up. And
Thanks
for
having me.
Carlos Kopszywa, Kendall Davis, and Chris Jacobs, we will see y'all next week.
See you later.
Bye.